Well, we are back. Some students and police officers competed in a community basketball tournament. We get more now from BronxNet reporter Arlene Makoko, who is literally on the court.
They are each players in the Better Together Cops and Community Basketball Tournament. On the court, students from the Dr. Richard Izquierdo Health and Science Charter School are playing for a title win against these officers from the 42nd Precinct and PSA 7.
It really brings the community together, and as a whole, it makes us more unified.
We're in a neighborhood that sometimes has a lot of crime, and our students have to learn how to be friends with the police and work together as a community.
And that's exactly what the goal is, building a strong relationship while in the game and in the neighborhood. The event, organized by 12-year NYPD veteran Officer Fred Washington, the aim is to cultivate an environment of trust.
I'm trying to bring the local kids in our community where I work at and the neighborhood coordinator and all the officers together, all at one time.
Both teams gave it all they had in the first half, followed by this halftime show. By the second half, it was the students who dominated the game. Commanding officer of the 42nd Precinct, Ernest Morales III, shared how this game is no ordinary one.
This is a very important event. I have my NCO, Neighborhood Coordinating Officer, Fred Washington, who came to me and wanted to organize this because he wanted to build a bond with us and the children, the future of our communities.
Also supporting the game, State Assemblyman Michael Blake and New York City Councilperson Vanessa Gibson, who chairs the Public Safety Committee.
Cops in the community, our young people, we all have to come together. You know, we understand that there's tension sometimes, but we're always better when we come together.
This is our second basketball tournament in which we're bringing young people from the community with PSA 7 and the 42 Precinct, and we're saying let's have a basketball game. Let's play cops versus kids. Let's talk about how we can build better relationships.
Tight matchup, but there can only be one winner. The good news here is that in this program, all are winners. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
I told you she was literally on the court, Arlene Makoko. Well, on January 20th, America will go through two changes. The Obama family leaving the White House and President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony. Here now to talk about what to look forward in the days ahead, we welcome now our political commentators, Tanisha Blanche, and she's a reporter and producer as well, and also J.C. Polanco, who's an adjunct professor at the Borough Manhattan Community College, as well as doing a lot of other political commentating across the city, but we have him here, right?
Yep.
First.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Long time no see. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you. And so let's talk about this now as we are talking just a few days away from literally the inauguration. Two changes will be taking place, of course, the president leaving office and the president-elect coming in. White House staffers now are really beginning to prepare for this whole thing. JC, what can we be looking for coming with the Trump administration?
I think he's onto something. I do. You know, I've been never Trump for a long time, so when I come here, I have to disclose because there's so many Democrats watching the TV turning it off right now. I got to tell you, this is a man who's president-elect and who is doing incredible things just by using Twitter. I mean, the messages that he's getting across to international leaders, whether it's Netanyahu, Putin, sending a message to North Korea about them not even testing these intercontinental ballistic missiles, to telling GM that they better stay put, and then GM stays put. It's something that I've never seen anything like this. I have to take something out of the President Obama playbook, and that's we have to be hopeful. Let's support him when he does the good things, and if he does anything that we disagree with, let's let him know. But I think right now we're going to see some major changes very quickly with this new president.
I think we're going to see major changes that aren't good with this new president. Not to piggyback on what you said, but on the contrary, just because he told GM to stay put doesn't mean that they stayed put because he said it. GM stayed put because it was something that was better for their company. I think he received a tax break or something like that. Fortune 500 is not going to leave when the President of the United States gives them something to stay. Also, something you said about, I forgot what it was. Twitter. Just because you have Twitter fingers and you know how to utilize social media better than probably 90% of politicians, doesn't mean that you are smart. It's just that you have good marketing skills and you have good people behind you that tells you what to do and how to work with the society that you're about to come into. So,
well, it's a modern form of communication, and I think that he is leading the way with using Twitter, and I think he's going to do a lot of things via Twitter. I don't use Twitter. The only time I go on Twitter is when somebody watching attacks me and I have to defend myself at hashtag, what is it? JC Polanco NYC. But, other than that, I think Trump is doing something phenomenal. We've never seen this. He's talking to people directly. He doesn't need the press anymore. He just goes on Twitter and talks to millions of people all at once. And then the press picks up on it and talks about the tweet for the next 24 hours. Well, so something incredible. I've never seen this before.
Let's talk about something that he did do. He talked about the GOP Ethics Committee and the fact that the GOP wanted to get rid of it, did get rid of the Ethics Committee, and yet and still he very much spoke against taking the Republicans to task. Something that a lot of people thought was not a good move, but in some essence puts pressure right back on the GOP. Agree?
Of course. The guy sends a series of tweets. The Republicans should be focused on other things other than getting rid of the ethics office. They should be focused on job creation, tax cuts, getting rid of Obamacare. He tweets these things. Within minutes, something that was voted on by the conference the night before was unanimously rejected by the same conference after the tweets. This is what I'm talking about. We've never seen this before. This is the most powerful man in Washington. And let me tell you something that I think is interesting. I think he's so powerful that when you talk about the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, those conversations that we used to have, I think are going to be altered, because I think his politics and his policies are not only going to influence those three incredibly, but I also think they're going to influence state houses across the country. I think you're going to see legislatures in North Carolina and California and in Ohio changing their views on positions simply because of a tweet. Watch it happen. It's incredible.
I would say, you said changing Obamacare. What is he going to change Obamacare to? How is he going to make Obamacare more affordable, especially to people like in the Bronx who utilize Obamacare? Me personally, I was a recipient of Obamacare. I was able to have my son with it. If I didn't have Obamacare, then it would have been a problem.
25 million people are under now Obamacare.
So how do you think he's going to change Obamacare? How is that going to affect people here in the Bronx that utilize this healthcare every day?
But I think he talked about originally that I'm going to repeal it totally, but then after taking...
Then he went back on his word.
Right.
Which is a good thing, right? This is what I'm talking about. I got to be hopeful. President Obama and Michelle Obama tell us, be hopeful. I am, and guess what? He says, pre-existing conditions I'll keep, and I also keep the kids up to 26. There are going to be other things that he has to keep because he knows they're popular. Millions of his voters are under Obamacare. So he has to figure out how is he going to tweak it, what's he going to do to make it better, because even President Obama thinks that there's ways to make it better, and unfortunately it wasn't done under his watch. A lot of it has to do because of politics.
We know the contention between both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump going into this, but yet and still we get word now that Hillary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton will be attending the inauguration, as well as Laura and George W. Bush. What do we make of this, given the fact that both of them and both families have staunchly been in opposition of everything that Donald Trump has done?
I think it's alarming, but some people at home may say that that's just the game of politics. At the end of the day, Democrats and Republicans have to work together. Do we like the president that's in office right now? No, we don't. But we have to come to some sense of common consensus. We have to come to a common consensus to see how it works. Maybe they're not 100% everything Trump says, but we have to, like you said, come together for a common cause. Find out how issues can be addressed with things such as Obamacare, people here in New York that need help with anything, or even out west. So
is it more a play of unity?
I would say unity for the sake of the country. Do you think that they have coffee in the morning? No, but unity for the sake of the country.
But it's interesting because I come from a world star mentality when it comes to politics. And when I got the news, I go on Facebook and I'm like, oh, this is like, hoping that people comment, or this is like when you see your ex at the prom or something, something along those lines, as to how uncomfortable a feeling it must be for Hillary and Bill to be here. And one guy from upstate New York, which I will not give him a shout out, says, JC, what about this is just tradition and there's nothing special about it? And I thought that's interesting. This is tradition. People fight it out for 2 years at a time, and then they come in and they get together at the inauguration, see the new president give a speech, applaud, and go home. So I think it's one of those peaceful transitions of power. The campaign is officially over.
Now, in normal settings, Jesse, let's talk about in normal settings, right? But we're talking about the vile rhetoric that came between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton to the place that, they didn't even shake hands during the debate.
I know.
You're talking about sitting there now with peaceful transition. Let us all get along. Really?
Yeah, that's just the American way. I can't explain it. Like, I don't know how they do it. I think about how she must feel. I think about how he must feel knowing that he brought all these people that accused him of sexual offenses at the debates, and he's going to be there sitting behind the new president-elect. I don't know. Me, the Latino in me is like, I'm staying in the Bronx. I ain't going down there. If it were me, I'd be like, if I see them. You know what I mean? right. But for some reason, this works, and it's a beautiful transition of power.
Tanisha?
Well, I can say I agree with you on that. It is a nice transition of power. It's nice that the people that are running this country are maybe not get along, but for the sake of television to get along. So I agree with that part.
Yeah, we do understand. Well, White House staff are preparing for the moving day where they have 6 hours to move the Obamas out and then move the first family in. We understand that on the 20th, the inauguration speech is taking place. 100 staffers will be taking the 132-room mansion and making it ready for the Trumps real quick. Let's talk about President Obama's and Michelle Obama's departure. How big is this going to be for America? Or is it just tradition?
Go ahead.
I think America is going to hurt. There's a lot of people that love the Obama family. I was actually on Instagram today before our segment, and I saw a post that said when you raise a 17-year-old compared to when you manage a 17-year-old. And when you raise 17-year-old was one of the Obama's daughters, and when you managed was Kylie Jenner. And you see the big difference, and you see how the Obamas raised their children to be wonderful women. They were well-spoken on TV. The Obamas, are well-spoken on TV. Everyone just loves them, and I think it's going to be a big transition from the Obama family to the Trump family. You're going to go from soft-spoken, mild-mannered to cocky, no censor. It's going to be a big transition. No filter. There's going to be a big difference.
I think, as far as the family part, I think you're absolutely right. I think there are very little Americans that can look at President Obama and say he's corrupt. He's, we don't like the way he's a father. He's scandalous. You're not going to hear that from too many people. But I think there are a lot of people that are happy to see him go. There are, and it's very interesting. We have, since President Obama took over in 2000, when he won his election in 2008, going into 2009, 900 Democratic state legislators have lost their seats. We haven't seen majorities in the House and the Senate like we have today since 1928. And Democratic governors, they fell down to 12 out of 34. So you have a lot of Democratic turnover under President Obama's watch. So that means that there's something going on in this country where not everybody likes President Obama, and there are a lot of people that can't wait to see him go, especially those 305 electoral votes that President-elect Trump got.
Well, we'll have to talk about that another time, but you have to ask the question whether or not the losing of Democratic governors or losing is a part to the president or is it in part to the Democratic Party? That's something we'll talk about when we come back next week, all right?
Thank you.
Tanisha, welcome, and we'll talk to you soon. JC?
Thank you.
Good to see you too. All right. Listen, taking a quick break. We're going to talk more, and we'll have some more interesting guests for you. We want you to stay with us. We're coming right back in just a few moments.